Hi everybody, this is Ryan Casey, the Division Manager for Washington, Alaska, and I wanted to talk to you today about some goal setting. Goal setting is a super important part of our business, and we know that if you set a goal, you're definitely much more likely to accomplish a higher sales level than if you're not setting goals and kind of just seeing what happens each week. So a lot of times we see representatives where they'll set a sales goal. I want to sell $1,000 for the week, $2,000 for the week. And then other reps will break that down to where I want to sell 1,000 for the week, and I know that's going to take me about 6 appointments. So what they're doing is they're setting a result-based goal and then breaking that down into the amount of activity they need, which is really smart because you can't put results into a schedule, but you can put activity, and that's how you drive the results. But one thing that I've noticed over the years is that when representatives set goals that are based off activity or results, is they're related. They know how much activity it takes to require the certain result, and what they do is they set what I call a single maximum goal, which means they say I want to sell $1,000, and I know that's going to take me about 5 appointments. And so what their single maximum goal means is they're going to do one of those things and they'll stop as soon as they get it. So I'm going to sell $1,000 or do 5 demos, whatever comes first, basically. What I wanted to talk about was the concept of a double minimum goal. And a double minimum goal means you're going to set a result goal and an activity level of the minimum amount you're going to accomplish. So instead of saying, I'm going to sell $1,000 or do 5 demos, whatever happens first, it says, I'm going to sell 1,000 and do 5 demos at least, and no matter what. So what happens, let's just walk through this. Let's walk through the single maximum goal. So you have a rep that isn't quite doing well, and they say, well, I'm going to sell 1,000, it's going to take me 5 demos. At the end of their 5 demos, they've only sold $400, and they say, well, I did my 5 demos, I'm done. Well, what happens is that person's not selling as much as they should. When they're not hitting that goal, they kind of give up versus pushing harder, like, hey, I need to learn something and get those averages up. I need to hit those sales marks, so I'm hitting the promotions, making the bigger money, because if they're not getting there every time they do 5 demos, eventually they're going to see that, hey, this isn't working. I'm not getting what I want, and that's really discouraging. On the other end, you have reps that do really well, and they say, my goal is to just sell 1,000, and it's going to take me about 5 demos, so whatever happens first, I'll do it. And they go on their first demo, they sell a homemaker, they sell $1,000. They say, well, I hit $1,000, I'm done. Well, what happens is they're only doing 1 or 2 demos a week if they're having those great sales results. And the biggest thing in our business that'll really help you accomplish your goals is having momentum. And momentum with our business is, 1, how many recommendations do you have to call? And 2, how many appointments you have lined up ahead of you. If you have 50 to 100 people to call and you have 4 demos already scheduled, you're going to be selling a lot. You're doing great. And I look at that much more than how much CPO somebody shipped last week. Your sales last week is your sales last week. That doesn't really say anything about what your sales are going to be this week. But if you have 4 demos ahead of you and you have 50 leads to call, then your sales can be pretty large this week. And so with momentum, though, those 2 things are names you have to call and appointments you have in front of you. And if you're one of those good reps who's doing 1 or 2 demos a week and still hitting 1,000, well, you're not giving yourself a lot of opportunity to get more names because you're only doing 1 or 2 demos to get more leads. And then 2 is you really don't have many demos ahead of you. And so what happens is with the frequency, you might only be calling people once every 3 or 4 days. You're only doing 1 or 2 demos. Your leads are going to start getting more stale because you're not using them as much, and you don't have as many appointments lined up. And what happens is eventually that catches up. And then all of a sudden this rep who is doing great and selling $1,000, $2,000 every week is having a hard time setting up appointments. And it's because they've gone multiple weeks of only doing 1 or 2 demos or whatever, a lower amount of demos than what they want to, on average, hit. And so that can catch up, and that can be really tough. I also see this happen with CSPs. With CSPs, a Cutco sales professional, somebody that's been in the business a long time. If you've been in the business for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 years, you're going to be learning and progressing. Most of our CSPs in the Western region, I'm sure the nation, are much better than they are today than they were when they first started their first year, first 2 years, first year as a CSP. But a lot of them still ship about the same amount. And what happens is they get better, but then they lower their activity, right? Well, I have higher averages, but I just want to hit that result, so I'm just going to lower my activity. Where if you kept that double minimum, kept the same work ethic with better results, you're going to really drive your results. And that's why you'll see some people that'll constantly increase their sales, and there's some people that are selling $3, $4, $5, even $600,000 and $700,000 in a year, because they maintain that activity of at least a minimum activity level, and then raise that results one as their efficiencies and as their productivities increase. So I really encourage you these next few weeks, try out this concept of a double minimum goal. Have a no matter what, I'm going to do at least 5 demos, and no matter what, I'm going to sell at least 1,000. Now, if you've done 5 demos and you're only at 700, that means you still need to do a couple more demos to hit your goal for the week, and don't stop until you get to that 1,000. If you sell 1,000 on your very first demo, well, don't not do the other 4, keep doing those other 4, and you're going to keep your leads high, you'll keep the appointments in front of you high, you'll keep your momentum really at its peak, and I think you'll really see those results. So that's it for today. Hope to hear see some good feedback from this, and we'll talk to you soon.